At first, there was no city. There was only one field, a handful of seeds, and the wind that folded the grass as water. A woman bowed in the dark earth. The dirty fingers sank slowly. Around her, the world was still nomadic, light, unstable. The animals were followed. They were looking for fruits, roots, hunting. Every day had the taste of uncertainty. Then someone realized that a seed fell near the hut, could come back to live. Just waited. Just stay. That thought was small, like the first sprout between the lads. But it would change everything. For the first time, hunger was not just an enemy to chase in the dark. It was a question to answer with your hands. And that answer was about to turn the world. Staying was more difficult to leave. The land had to be looked, protected, clean. The sun dried mud on his hands. The rain came without warning. Each sprout was a fragile, almost invisible promise. Around the fields there are branches of branches. They dug holes to preserve wheat. They split their homework. He was watching. Who was picking up? Those who grinned with heavy stones and white powder on their fingers? The days began to repeat, and something new was born in that repetition. Not just survival anymore. But wait, memory, forecast. The village did not exist yet, but his breath was already in the air. When more families stopped in the same place, the land changed its face. The huts approached one another. The smoke of the fires rose straight in cold mornings. The children ran through the hardened mud corridors. The dogs slept near the thresholds. They felt wooden blows, low voices, scraping of stone blades. No one still called that city thing. It was just a village, but in that circle of houses, rules began to arise. The property, the border, the common harvest, the debt of those who had received seeds and had to return them. Life became more stable and more complex. In silence, civilization was learning to be close. A rich harvest didn't just bring relief. He also brought power. Full baskets became more important than weapons. Those who kept the grain kept the time. The bread could be preserved. Families could pass through winter. Someone was free from the fields. A craftsman shaped wet clay. Another woven baskets. Another one beats the metal when the metal began to become known. The job split. The roles specialized, and the village grew inside itself, like a root that seeks space in the dark. But with the surplus came a new fear. If the grain is missing, who survives? The answer was no easier. When the village produced more than it consumed, it began to move. Cereal bags were loaded on the shoulders. Stones smoothed. Salt, obsidian, skins, and ceramics passed by hand in hand. The paths opened in the mud. The prints were broken. The routes became exchanges. Exchanges became ties. Along the rivers and through the plains, people met with more frequency. Different clothes were observed. Different languages were heard. He learned to trust strangers and fear them. The road was still only grounded, but he was already sewing away worlds together. Before writing, there were hands, memory, knots, signs. But when the granaries became great, memory was no longer enough. You had to count. It was necessary to remember who had delivered, who had to return, who had taken too much. Simple signs appeared on a clay tablet. Pockets, wedges, lines. They didn't tell stories at first. They recorded the weight of the world. Bread, oil, beer, animals, tributes. Then those signs became tongue, and the tongue became memory outside the human body. No one knew it yet, but from that moment, power would not have lived only in the fields. It would have inhabited even in the signs. The city was not born in a day. It grew as a slow fire grows. Higher houses, closer roads, raw brick walls, storage, officing, temples that were seen from afar above the roof of the houses. The air knew about smoke, wet clay, and animals. The crowd increased tensions. Where there are many people, every space becomes precious. Every decision weighs. Every shared water can become a dispute. Yet no one wanted to go back. The city offered work, protection, prestige, and a new vertigo. Lived next to thousands of strangers. Around the great rivers, life seemed more generous. The file made the banks fertile. The water brought harvests, but also floods, diseases, uncertain boundaries. Egypt looked at the Nile. The Mesopotamia lived between Tigris and Euphrates. Elsewhere, along the Indo and the Yellow River, other peoples learned the same lesson. Coordinating water meant coordinating thousands of people. Channels, dams, collective work, authority, obedience. Civilizations were born of a fragile balance between abundance and discipline. The banks filled with fields, and above the fields came palaces, tombs, statues, prayers. Man was not only living the earth, he was ordering her. When wheat was harvested and controlled water, someone began to command. The leaders administered food. The priests interpreted the signs of heaven. The scribes counted. The warriors protected and feared. The differences between people became visible also in clothes, in houses, in the way of walking. The building grew. The temple grew. The distance between those who decided and those who obeyed became wider. Most people kept hopping, sewing, cooking, bringing water. But above their heads, a new order was formed. An order that promised stability and asked tributes. The idea of civilization now had a face, and it was the face of power. Where many lived, the rules became necessary. Measure the bread, share the water, punish theft, protect borders, tell who owns what, say who has to work, say who judges. Laws didn't erase violence. They made it predictable. The tablets filled with formulas. Markets learned to trust weights and measures. Families learned to count their place in the world. Civilization became less spontaneous, harder, but even greater than one life. In the markets, the world was touched with hands. The smell of salty fish mixed with spices, wool, leather, and smoke. Coins, shells, ingots, weights, voices overlapping. Hands indicating, bargaining, stringing agreements. A vase could come from afar months after leaving. An idea could travel faster than a caravan. With trade came new tastes, new tools, new gods. Each load crossed invisible boundaries, and it made them weaker. Cities learned to depend on each other. Just a break, just a closed road. And the bread was missing, the bronze was missing, the salt was missing. The world had become interconnected. When the cities became rich, the boundaries became harder. The walls rose. The doors closed at sunset. Men learned to hold spears and bows not only to hunt, but to defend fields, warehouses, roads. The war was not new, but it became more organized and farther away from the individual face. Entire campaigns could be mustered. A burned crop meant hunger for thousands. A victory brought loots, slaves, tributes. A defeat brought silence. On the walls, in the cold morning light, the sentinels looked at the dust on the horizon. They didn't know who came yet, but they knew that the world wouldn't have remained still. The empires were born like this. From a city that conquered, absorbed, taxed. From a military road that became a commercial road. A king who wanted more land than his neighbor. As officials carrying orders on horseback, boat, walking. The empires united different peoples under one will. They brought common language, common measures, common laws. They also carried deportations, rebellion, fear. The common man lived the greatness of the empire through the price of bread, military service, tributes, the passage of armies. For him, the empire was not an idea. It was the noise of the hooves in the dust. It was the seal on a tablet. It was the time when someone asked more than they had. But civilization did not grow only by force. He also grew with patience. The craftsmen learned from the gestures of those who had preceded them. Doctors observed fevers, wounds, herbs, cycles of the moon. Astronomers scrutinized the sky to predict seasons and floods. The builders understood the weight of the stones, the angle of the ramps, the resistance of the wood. Every generation left something to the next. A secret, a measure, a remedy, a mistake not to repeat. Knowledge began to accumulate as sediment on the bottom of a river, slow, unstoppable, and invisible, until it became the foundation of everything. Every age seemed to close in a manner. First the stone, then the bronze, then the iron. Each metal made the instrument stronger, the more lethal weapons, the faster work. The blades cut better. The plows opened the ground deeper. The wagons ran on better roads. Then came the wheels turning alone in the mills, levers, pumps, gears. Much later, steam, iron noise, the breath of the workshops. Civilization entered the age of machines without stopping bringing the old weight of the fields. Technology promised liberation. And together he asked for energy, coal, hands, discipline, time. Yet, within this long run, life remained concrete. A mother kneaded bread with her hands. A boy brought water from a cold canal at dawn. A scribe folded his back on a tablet. A bricklayer breathed dust and lime. A woman waited for the return of those who had departed with the caravan. A child learned to distinguish the noise of the friendly steps from that of soldiers. Civilization was not only made of kings and temples. It was made of curved foams, fingers, wounds, tired eyes. Small gestures repeated to become world. Without them, no grain would have been collected, no stone would have been raised, no word would remain. The great story had a face, and it was that of ordinary people. Every step forward left a track. The swamps were drained, the forest down, the deviated rivers. Irrigated lands became fertile, but also dependent. The city shone, while the distant villages paid the tribute. The order protected and oppressed. Wealth grew and concentrated. The more civilization strengthened, the more difficult it became to imagine life without her. Yet, under its surface, ancient fragility remained. Caresti, epidemi, rebellions. The world built by man was never definitive, just enough to crack it. With ships, caravans, and empires, the world seemed to approach. Spices from the east, metals from the mountains, fabrics, glasses, ideas, diseases, alphabets. The coasts became doors. The deserts became corridors. Along the routes, people learned to recognize themselves on an increasingly tied planet. The goods changed face to the cities. The stories changed the memory of the peoples. Nobody really lived alone. Civilization had turned into a network, and every knot felt the tremor of others. Humanity was becoming interdependent without knowing yet. Today, we still touch that long chain. The bread we eat, cities illuminated at night, the boundaries drawn on the maps, the written words that go through centuries, roads, markets, records, taxes, bridges, machines. Nothing appeared suddenly. Everything was built, adjusted, disputed, handed down. Every civilization has left behind a fragment of the world. Some fragments brought beauty, other domain, other injuries. But together they created the landscape we live in. Looking closely means seeing not only the past, it means seeing ourselves. In this documentary, the following works and research institutions have been used as main historical sources. James C. Scott, Against the Grain, A Deep History of the Earliest States. David Wengrow, The Dawn of Everything, A New History of Humanity. David Graeber, The Dawn of Everything, A New History of Humanity. Ian Morris, Why the West Rules. For now, The Patterns of History and What They Reveal About the Future. Yuval Noah Harari, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. Denise Schmant-Besserat, How Writing Came About. Mark van de Meeroop, A History of the Ancient Near East. Sir Barry Cunliffe, By Steppe, Desert and Ocean, The Birth of Eurasia, British Museum. The Metropolitan Museum of Art. The Louvre Museum, Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology, UNESCO.